subscribe with all of him. RJ Talks. Here we go.
It is Thursday, August 14th, and California Governor Gavin Newsom has just called a special election to alter the California state constitution and redistrict the maps in his state. Newsom blaming this power grab, this land grab, on who else? On President Trump. But is that what's really happening? We'll show you. And brand new immigration numbers just released. 1.6 million illegals have voluntarily left the United States just the last 6 months alone. 1.6 million fewer people now in this country. We'll look at that and more stories as well from around the country.
To do midterm redistricting in 2026, 2028, and 2030 for the congressional maps.
California Governor Gavin Newsom spending his day yesterday not running his state, not helping the victims of the LA fires or cleaning up or any of the other hundreds of things, duties that a governor has to do on a daily basis. Instead, spending his day yesterday filming a podcast, playing dress up and doing YouTube with failed presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke, the two of them losing their minds during this podcast over what's happening in Texas. Newsom announcing he's putting the president on notice, giving Trump a 24-hour deadline, he said, to have Republican states stand down from redistricting before 2026 or California will move forward and gerrymander away all of their Republican districts. Newsom, who's not just the sitting California governor, but also the frontrunner currently to be the Dem nominee for president, spending your tax dollars to roll out what appears to be this presidential campaign op, a brand new rapid response X account, posting like every 30 seconds, copying Trump's rapid response strategy, writing this post: Trump has 24 hours left to respond to Newsom's letter. If he doesn't stand down, there will be a very important press conference with a major announcement. Thank you for your attention to this matter. See what he did there? All caps. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Copying Trump's speaking format. Well, he held that press conference moments ago announcing he's calling a special election to get around to bypass California's state constitution. Watch.
So this time requires us to act anew, not just think anew. And so I'm grateful to all of the remarkable leaders that have stepped up this unifying effort here in the state of California. And we'll be asking for the people on November 4th, a special election coinciding with a lot of local municipal elections, to provide a temporary pathway for congressional maps. We will affirm our commitment to the state independent redistricting after the 2030 census, but we're asking the voters for their consent to do midterm redistricting in 2026, 2028, and 2030 for the congressional maps to respond to what's happening in Texas, to respond what Trump is trying to excite.
So why are Dems losing their minds over what's happening in Texas? Texas is legally redistricting. They're not doing anything out of the norm for their state. They're allowed to do this. It's written in their constitution. California, however, cannot. California's state constitution specifically states they can only redistrict once every 10 years. It's illegal. California cannot do it. Hence this special election that Newsom's calling, his way of making it look democratic.
We're working through a very transparent, temporary, and public process. We're putting the maps on the ballot and we're giving the power to the people. This will be the first redistricting that's ever done. That's the difference.
Newsom's asking for a 2/3 vote to change California's constitution to allow them to gerrymander every 2 years until the 2030 census, to redraw their maps and purposely eliminate any Republican representation left in his state. This is officially the end of California. Gavin Newsom just broke the state permanently. And the dirty little secret that Newsom failed to mention is that California was already on red alert. Newsom's been looking to do this for years because even with California's uber gerrymandered districts, look what was happening in California. It's been moving redder and redder, even with all the gerrymandering that they did in 2020, stripping multiple Republican seats. This is why Newsom's jumping at the chance to do this. Trump is just their scapegoat, folks. He's blaming this on Trump and Abbott. During his podcast yesterday with Beto, they spent 15 minutes trying to convince the viewers that they need to do this. They must do it to stop Trump, get this, from following in Adolf Hitler's footsteps. Yes, they went full Nazi. That California has to redistrict to prevent America from turning into Nazi Germany. You can't make this up. Watch.
You know, you and I, when we were in school, were looking at the people in Germany in 1933. That guy's named chancellor in January of that year. In 53 days, he has destroyed German democracy. The parliament or the Congress, their legislature passed these enabling laws, just like the Republicans are doing in Congress today, that said, anything you want, you go out and do it. And he goes from being this buffoonish, clownish thug who can barely hold power to the undisputed master and dictator of the German people. And I know this shit doesn't repeat, but it sure as hell rhymes. And we got to be listening to that right now and acting with the urgency that the moment demands from us. And again, I got to tell you, I see you doing that right now. I wish there were more who were doing that. I love what J.B. Pritzker is doing in Illinois. You know, Kathy Hochul has made some noise in New York that they're going to use that power they have there.
Because that Atlantic article in January that someone sent me about the 53 days, it scared the hell out of me, but I was honestly timid to send it around, because anytime you associate anything with what happened in Germany in the 30s and Hitler, everyone then panics. But that is a must-read article for anyone that needs a little brush up in their history lesson. Everything you just said is real. It happened from within, and it happened in 53 damn days. We're just 6 months in, Beto. This guy's just getting started.
Now look, both sides can be accused of doing this, putting their thumb on the scale. All states do this, but Democrats have done it way more, and we know this because if you game it out, which the Trump administration's clearly done, the Republicans end up on top. Massachusetts, they don't even have a single Republican district left to gerrymander away. And if you're wondering how any of this is even allowed or legal, it's just how our system's set up. The point is districts change, populations change, they need to be redistricted. Each state is apportioned a certain number of congressional seats based on how many residents that state has. What happens is every 10 years, this is decided based on the new U.S. Census, determining how many residents each state has. We know that California's been losing population. Red states during and after COVID saw this huge spike in population. The Dems are fighting like hell right now because if Republicans stay in control of Congress and approve Trump's new census changes, allowing that new citizenship question, they are done. It's estimated Dems would lose between 15 to 20 congressional seats based on that alone, which isn't even taking into account Trump's mass deportation agenda. Now, the Senate, remember, isn't affected by this at all. Every state has 2 senators. That number never changes. This only affects the House of Representatives, which brings us to our next story. DHS releasing brand new immigration numbers this morning, showing since Trump's inauguration, 1.6 million illegals have self-deported, deported themselves. 1.6 million people have left the country in just the first 6 months of this administration. Watch.
We have 1.6 illegal immigrants that have left this country voluntarily. And I think these numbers just show exactly the genius of Donald J. Trump. The brilliant mind that he has, that when he was elected in November, he knew he had to make America safe again. And he said, Christie, if you're going to be my Homeland Security Secretary, we're going to follow the law. You're going to do commercials. You're going to tell the world that no longer will we tolerate people being in our country illegally and that they need to go home. And he messaged it strong. There were consequences if you broke the law and you were a criminal in this country and you needed to leave. And overwhelmingly, the world got the message. They're leaving on their own, which is the best thing for American citizens. Not only did 1.6 million people leave the United States that shouldn't be here, but also 2.5 million Americans became employed in the last 6-7 months. That's incredible growth for U.S. citizens that will benefit their families and the people who love this country, who were born here, who want to be employed, and now have new opportunities for success as well.
And we knew this was happening in California. It's estimated up to 30% of LA's population is made up of illegals, people here illegally. Karen Bass is even paying illegals to stay, offering to pay shelter costs if you stay in Los Angeles. Watch.
Total BS. First of all, she doesn't know the exact number. I'll give Karen Bass an exact number, $1 billion. That's how much Los Angeles is in deficit under her mismanagement. $1 billion in deficit, but somehow she can find the money for this. They say it's not taxpayer money. Oh, it's non-profits and philanthropy. We all know what that looks like. That's how they've been laundering money to pay for the organizations, the non-profits and philanthropies that have been organizing the riots against all this. They're stirring it all up, and then the reason that she gives, we got to hand out this money because people are frightened to go to work. Why are they frightened? Because she's whipping up fear because of the raids. Why do we have raids? Because she won't cooperate with ICE. Just as Tom Homan says, if they did cooperate, they wouldn't need to do this kind of enforcement operation. If the authorities in California did their job and enforced the law, none of this would be happening.
Crazy how when you really study what our politicians do once we put them in power, they spend all their time scheming how to stay in power. It's ridiculous. In another story, DC residents appear to approve of Trump's federal takeover of DC. Reporters going around asking everyday Washingtonians how they feel about Trump using the National Guard to patrol the streets and crack down on crime. And almost all of them that they asked say they support it. That DC is very dangerous. Watch.
Are you from the area of DC? Or are you a tourist?
Born and raised.
So you're born and raised in DC. Are you here just, are you working in the area or just tourist right now?
I work not far from here.
Where do you, if you don't have to tell me, but where do you work?
I work at a law firm a couple.
Oh, well, so you're an attorney.
No, but I assist.
Oh, cool. So what are your thoughts? Today we're talking about DC crime rates. Is it safe to live in DC? Do you agree with President Trump federalizing for 30 days to sort of stamp down on crime? What are your thoughts?
I agree with it. I was born and raised in the district, and I've never seen the things that I see today with children as young as 3 years old being shot. I mean, where does that happen? I think it's a bad idea to fear what this president is doing. I mean, he actually lives in the city now. I mean, come on. He would be foolish, I think, to ignore things like that. A child, 3 years old, being shot, or people being shot on the bus. I mean, that happened in upper Northwest Washington, D.C. So, I mean, yeah, I think I agree.
People in upper Northwest and like the areas, because it's hard finding actual DC residents here in this area. It's mostly like bureaucrats and whatnot. It's not the real DC people.
Yeah.
Do they generally support this? Do they feel like they want crime to be under control, or are they against it?
I do. I believe that most people that live here, that work hard every day and have families, they want the crime rate to be brought under control. They want the situation of, like I said, children being shot, seniors being assaulted. They want that under control. And I believe that this is the best thing that has happened to this city in a very, very long time, for the president to take control and, of the police, of the crime. I think it's a great idea. I really, really do.
Question for me now.
You hear from city leaders and others that crime is actually down. Are you seeing that?
No, I'm not seeing it. We're seeing carjackings, the violence in the communities. So we were advocating then for the National Guard to come out, but they said there was no need. But think about how many lives could have been saved just having them on the scene.
This morning, they've now begun moving the homeless out of the city as well, giving them a choice: either leave, check into a shelter, or be arrested. The homeless encampments were seen being cleaned out this morning using heavy machinery and 30-yard dumpsters to dispose of the years of waste and debris left by these encampments. Let me know what you think about this. Do you support removing these homeless encampments? If you've been to some of these cities, these blue cities, you know they can be huge, sometimes stretching a mile long, and they're filthy. Let me know what you think. All right, that wraps up this episode.